and welcome to the Eau de Cheap channel, the channel dedicated to all things cheap in the world of fragrances. And in today's video, I'm gonna be giving you 5 cheapies that I think that you should buy and wear this spring. And they're gonna be 5 that I'm actually gonna be wearing personally and enjoying this spring. I've taken into account the wearability of these fragrances, I've taken into account the availability, how easy they are to get a hold of, and I've taken into account the prices because we are the Eau de Cheap channel, so we're trying to find inexpensive and cheap, but we're not sacrificing quality. So I made sure that these are very good quality and things that I enjoy, and I think you would enjoy them as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing I want to do is give an honorable mention to one fragrance that I've been wearing a lot recently, and I really like it. It is one that I bought last year. I haven't seen it before. I thought it was very interesting, looked up the note breakdowns, looked up some reviews about it, thought it looked very unique, and so I bought it. Started wearing it a little bit, but I really wasn't into it a whole lot. I think my nose maybe wasn't appreciating it as much as it would now, so I lent it out to somebody. Well, I heard some fragrance reviewers recently talking about the fragrance this year. You know what? I want to try to reach back out to my friend, see if he wore it. He gave it right back to me, and I started wearing it again, and I absolutely love it. The one that I'm talking about is Abercrombie & Fitch First Instinct Extreme. Now, as you can tell, it's a very reflective, very unique bottle. It's the same kind of bottle style that you'll have on the First Instinct line, except it's very reflective, all chrome, and as the name on the side plate says, First Instinct Extreme. If you know the First Instinct line smells like, they all have that same kind of DNA that the First Instinct, the original one, had. They just add a little bit to it. You have First Instinct the regular, First Instinct Blue, First Instinct Together, which I really didn't like as much, a very Invictus sweet, something I really didn't take to. But then there was this one, First Instinct Extreme. I didn't know what to think of this one. The note breakdown was very interesting. Now, like I said, I didn't appreciate how it smelled at first, but then I got it back this year and I started wearing it, and I absolutely love this fragrance. It comes off very musky, very fresh, spicy, very aromatic and woody, maybe a tad ozonic and airy, and it's also very sweet. It has a little bit of a fruitiness to it. It's also a little bit powdery, a very soft, comfortable fragrance. Very nice and very modern, but also very unique. I want to give you that note breakdown real quick. On the top notes, you have carambola or starfruit, which is a very interesting note that's not used a whole lot in men's fragrances. And you have pepper and mandarin leaf. In the middle notes, you have violet leaf, which is very strong that comes through, Szechuan pepper, cardamom, and saffron. In the base notes, you have musk, amber, coconut milk, which gives it a little creaminess and sweetness as well, suede, and cashmere wood. So this fragrance, like I said, comes off very sweet, aromatic. You get a little, you do get those cardamom, that saffron, that spiciness in there, and starfruit adds a little bit of fruitiness to it. Like I said, a little sweetness on that end. But that violet leaf, you also have a good violet note going through it. And I didn't know at first what it was. When I first smelled it, I thought it was a weird little tinge. I was like, something smells off. As my nose matured and I started smelling more fragrances of violet in them, I noticed it was violet, and I really like violet note. So on this fragrance, wearability, you have spring, summer, and fall. It's sweet enough and aromatic enough in the spring and the fall, but it's also airy enough and ozonic that you can also wear it in the summertime as well. It's almost like a blue fragrance kind of style. Very nice, very easy day or evening wear. Performance is fairly good. I get about 6 to 8 hours on my skin, about a foot of projection. After the first hour and a half, 2 hours, becomes a nice skin scent, but it becomes very pleasant on the skin. But my only caveat and only thing with this is the availability. Online, it sells out a good bit or it's not in stock, but the price is also fairly high even though it's been out for a bit. I picked this up at Ross last year for in the $20 range, $25 range. So it was very inexpensive and I picked it up there. Very good quality, brand new, not damaged in any way. I haven't been able to see it a lot recently, but there's different TJ Maxx and Rack stores that have it on shelves randomly, so you may be able to find it. So I want to give this an honorable mention because everything about it is great and perfect for the spring. The only thing is that availability. It's going to be a little hard, a little difficult to find, but if you can find it, I highly recommend this. It's a very nice fragrance. So now we're getting to the actual 5 that I wanted to recommend to you. So the first one we're going to talk about in this lineup is Mont Blanc Individuel. Now this fragrance comes off very fruity, sweet, spicy, woody, very comfortable, very soft, and very like fresh linen kind of smell. It's a very, very nice fragrance, very almost like sexy masculine kind of style, but from the early days. This did come out in 2003. Some people might consider it a little old school, but it is still a very wearable, very nice fragrance. I've worn this a bunch of times, gotten a good bit of compliments on it. It still kicks today, even though it's 20 years old. But it's perfect for the springtime because you do have that aromatic spiciness and that woodiness, a little bit of sweetness that comes through on it. Let's go ahead and go through that note breakdown real quick. In the top notes, you have lavender, cinnamon, pineapple, juniper berries, mint, bergamot, rosemary, cardamom, and coriander. It's a lot of top notes. On these middle notes, you have orange blossom, violet, geranium, and jasmine. And then on the dark notes, you have raspberry, vanilla, sandalwood, dark chocolate, musk, amber, patchouli, vetiver, and oak moss. As you can tell, coming out of the 90s into 2000s, you do have that jam-packed full note breakdown. They put everything, including the kitchen sink, in this thing. Definitely gives it a good bit of depth, a lot more depth than what you would normally smell from Mont Blanc or their earlier fragrances. Another one that I'll talk about maybe later on is Mont Blanc Presence, which came out around this time, and it smells very similar to Individuel. The only thing is, Individuel is a lot richer. It is a lot deeper, it has more character to it, and it actually has better performance on it as well. The performance that I can get on this is 8 hours plus. This thing stays on a long time, but it is very synthetic. A lot of people might not like that synthetic kind of smell, but it does help the fragrance have very good performance. It projects about 1.5 feet or so for the first 2 hours, I would say. Still, the longevity on this thing is very good, and I think the wearability is very good. Again, we're in springtime fragrances. This has a very strong sandalwood note, very sweet. You have those berries, that raspberry note that comes through. Very strong. It has that sweetness, that berry and fruity sweetness. You saw all those fruits on the top note, and it keeps through. And of course, it has that spiciness. You have cinnamon in this, and that carries through as well. Lavender that comes through this, giving that masculine touch to it. It is just a very, very nice scent. It is supposedly a discontinued fragrance. However, you can still find this thing very readily available everywhere. I see it popping up at TJ Maxx all the time, Ross all the time. You probably can find it at Burlington and Marshall's for a good bit. You still find this online as well. It's been out since 2003, supposedly discontinued, but you can still find this thing everywhere. Not just springtime, you can wear this thing in the fall time as well, maybe the winter time. I think it's a little too rich and too musky for summertime unless you can wear it at nighttime, but a perfect spring fragrance, that woodiness and that spiciness along with those berries that come through. Very nice Blanc Individuel, my first one to tell you about. The next one in this list I want to tell you about is none other than Versace The Dreamer. What's already been said about this fragrance that has been said already? I made that video talking about the Versace fragrances under $30, and this was in it, and it was my absolute favorite, and it's one of my favorites out of my whole collection. I just really love how unique and underrated this is. This is such a beautiful fragrance. It comes off very white floral, very with those juniper berries on the front, which makes it a weird opening. Some people might not like that. The iris in this and that tobacco blossom in this, it's just such a very nice scent, very clean, very classy, very sophisticated. I'll go through the note breakdown again for you, even though I've already been through it before. You have the top notes juniper, tarragon, and artemisia. Middle notes you have iris, lily, and flax, which is very unique. Base notes are tobacco blossom and amber. This is just of course I've already gone through the presentation before, clear bottle with Versace's Medusa logo on the front, and then the all-in-one cap and atomizer on the top. Not gaudy, not cheesy presentation, just very nice looking. I've worn this so many times. I want to buy me a bigger bottle, probably 2 bigger bottles in case this thing gets continued, because I just really love this fragrance. Performance is very nice on it. It's very light. It's not going to be a huge attention grabber. I will say that opening with the juniper berries, juniper is a very noticeable note. You can smell it almost immediately in any fragrance that has it, especially if it's a top note. It does have that old school kind of vibe a little bit. Now this was reformulated. This originally came out in the 90s, and then it was reformulated and re-released in the mid 2000s. And with that re-release, it kept a little bit of that old school vibe, especially with that opening, but they really modernized it. It may have affected performance a little bit, but I think it's still great. So some people might consider that opening a little too harsh or a little polarizing or old school, but once you get past that opening, it's a very clean, powdery, iris, white floral, and the thing that's making this lean masculine is that tobacco blossom. It's not like a tobacco like you get like a cigar or earthy tobacco, just a sweet masculine tobacco that holds it to that masculine kind of side. And it's just a very classy, sophisticated man's fragrance. I really do love this. Like I said, I can just see this as something an Italian gentleman would wear in a white suit walking down Venice, maybe drinking a nice cup of tea or coffee on the side of the river, and just a very, very nice light fragrance. I just really, really love this. But I get about 6 to 8 hours with this, maybe a foot or less of projection after the first hour, but it becomes a beautiful, beautiful skin scent. I mean, when this thing dries down is when it really shines. It becomes very clean. I can't say enough about this. I really, really do love this fragrance. It is such an underdog, but yet it's so available. I really think you can find this cheaper online than you could in rack stores. TJ Maxx, you have full bottle about like $34.99. Online, like at FragranceNet, you can get a tester for like $23, $25. So that's probably the way to go. And testers don't come with caps, but you don't got to worry about this because it's a built-in atomizer. So you get the whole package deal. It's highly, highly recommend this. This is my favorite, again, in my collection. It's just a very clean, irisy, powdery, white floral scent for a man. Perfect for springtime. You can wear it at any occasion, especially during the daytime mainly. When the sun's out, it's just so nice to wear. Versace The Dreamer, highly recommend it. So the next one I'm gonna talk about is actually one that was recommended by Chris from the Fragmental channel. A video he did called, if I had to keep like, I think he said 10 or 15 cheapies for the rest of my life. This is one that was included in there, and I thought it looked very interesting. Literally a week after I saw his video, I saw this pop up in a Ross, and I looked at the price, and I was like, I gotta get this. Picked it up. It is none other than Grassland by Banana Republic. So you've seen a lot of the iconic Banana Republic fragrances that come in the same kind of style bottle with the metal top and the leather base, and I've done a review on one of these on my shorts. But this one is called Grassland, and instead of a clear bottle, it's actually a colorized green bottle. So it's very hefty, very nice presentation, very good quality, and it matches the quality that's actually on the inside of the bottle. So this fragrance, how it comes off, as the name implies and as the bottle would imply, it is a green fragrance. With some exceptions. It is green and it has some aromatics, but it also has a good bit of sweetness in there, almost like a candy sweetness. This, if I had to describe it, is like the epitome of Easter. You know that candy grass that you'd buy and put in kids' Easter baskets and all that? It's like that. It reminds me of that. I know it's weird, but it reminds me of that. Like what Chris said, I have to agree. When you spray this on, either on a test strip on your skin and you smell it, it has a green Irish tweed undertone. So it's like a green Irish tweed twist. And if you don't know what green Irish tweed smells like, Cool Water and Aspen's a very good approximation of that. Or if you get Armaf's Très Nuit, it's a very good clone of green Irish tweed. Any of you who've smelled a green Irish tweed, when you smell this, you'll immediately pick it up and you can smell that in the background with this sweetness, candiness on top of it and this fruitiness on top of it. Let's go ahead and go to note breakdown so you can see what I'm talking about. On the top notes, you have mint, apple, bergamot, and pomelo. On the middle notes, you have lavender, ozonic notes, geranium, and petitgrain. On the base notes, you have ambergris, sandalwood, moss, patchouli, and vanilla. So as you read, you have those fruits on the top, which add in that sweetness, but it comes off almost like a candy-like sweetness, but it is fruity. That mint is noticeable, adds that freshness to it. And then you have those ozonic notes, which add that airiness to it, that add that sea breeze freshness to it, which kind of thing adds into that green Irish tweed DNA, because green Irish tweed also has ozonic kind of notes going into it as well. And of course you have the dry down, you have ambergris, moss, patchouli, and vanilla, that ambergris adding in a lot of that sea marine kind of quality as well. But this is a very nice fragrance. The performance on this isn't monstrous. It does last me about 6 hours, maybe 7. Projection, depending on how much you spray on, is about a foot or so within the first hour, hour and a half. When it dries down, it's still a very, very nice scent. And with it being a Banana Republic, something you might not expect a lot of quality from, it smells very high quality. And the price I picked this up at. So you might not find this at a good price online, depending on where you're looking. The availability, I think, is there. You can still find it online, but the price may vary depending on where you're looking. But I found this at Ross, literally the week after I watched Chris's video. I found it at $20.99 and I had to immediately buy this. I did not waste, I threw it on everything else I had and I said, I'm getting this one. And I took it to the register immediately and I got it. And I didn't regret it, but I knew that I wouldn't be able to find it for that price anywhere else, because usually online I find it like at $50, $52. But for $29.99, it was an absolute steal. And especially after smelling it, I can't believe I paid that price for something this good quality. I mean, it is so unique, so nice. If you want a green Irish tweed with a spring sweetness, almost candy sweetness twist on it, this is the one to get. And it is, like I said, Easter, spring, the epitome, the embodiment of it in a bottle. Grassland by Banana Republic. I can't get enough of it. So the next fragrance I'm going to talk about is one that I've actually been wanting to talk about for a while. I just didn't know what video or when I should talk about it, because I was very excited. When I found it, I was like, oh, hey, that looks pretty interesting. And I smelled it. I just couldn't believe it. It was just very surprising. I've talked about another fragrance from the same brand when I first started doing my shorts. And then I found this one right behind it. And I just couldn't wait to talk about it. And then I found it was perfect for the spring weather. And I just had to include it in this video. And the fragrance I'm talking about is from Ben Sherman, called Icon. Now, as you can see from the bottle design, it's a cylindrical bottle design with a round top on it. You got orange juice and you got a silver plastic cap on the top. This fragrance, how it comes off, old school barbershop kind of smell with a modern twist on it. It's a very classy, sophisticated, mature man's smell, but I think easily some young guys can wear it if you're sporting it in the right way, the right time, the right event, with the right clothes and fashion. Very woody. You immediately get a very strong wood smell on the front. You get a little bit of aromatics, a little bit of spiciness, and you get a good bit of sweetness in there. The one I reviewed before was Ben Sherman Signature, which is a very leathery smell, but it's still clean. This one keeps that clean DNA. Ben Sherman makes a lot of toiletry men's products with like shaving cream, lotion, shower gel, any kind of like personal grooming products. So they have a brand and DNA to all their stuff, making a man feel fresh and clean. And this definitely falls right into it. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the note breakdown. This is very interesting. This does not pop up on Fragrantica, or I don't think it's even on base notes. So I had to look and find a reseller that happened to have a description listed. It doesn't really have any listing by top, mid, and bottom notes, so I'm just going to read the description and we'll get the notes from there. So it is what they describe as a woody fragrance opening with green, spicy pink pepper notes leading into a heart of leather and clove and resting on a base of precious woods, smooth amber, and hints of tobacco. Again, when you first smell this fragrance, you get a lot of fresh cedar wood. That's what I get from this. Very noticeable cedar wood. And you get a little bit of that pepperiness, a little pink pepper, a little spiciness in there. But it brings along a lot of sweetness with it. It's a sweet tobacco. You get a little bit of that leather, and of course the amber adds in that sweetness as well. If I had to describe this fragrance, I'd say it's a very cedar wood forward, spice forward, sweet tobacco, amber, slightly leather smell. That all plays into it being that kind of, not quite fougere in a way, but it is a barbershop. And when you smell it, you'll smell old-fashioned, classic barbershop men's fragrance. This is supposedly an eau de parfum concentration, so you would expect better performance out of it than an eau de toilette. Of course, it is also a inexpensive fragrance, so it could go either way. On my skin, projects very good for the first hour, maybe hour and a half, but it's like a foot, 2 feet. That cedar wood really pierces through, really stays strong. Then after that, it becomes a very lovely, very nice skin scent. The longevity is maybe about 6 hours, depending on how much you spray or your skin chemistry. Spraying on clothes would help it last a little longer. Even so, that whole journey all the way through it, it's a very pleasing, very nice scent to be wearing. It smells so good. You want to keep smelling it on yourself, catching whiffs of it. I did get some compliments about it, people noticing it. So it is sweet enough and modern enough to have that kind of compliment factor in it, even though it does have that old school kind of vibe to it. Especially for the price I got it at, no matter what, cannot beat the price. I picked this up for I think $12 or $14.99 at TJ Maxx, which is incredible. It's a steal. I mean, especially for the quality that's in this, the depth that's in this, and even the ingredient quality smell that comes out of it. It isn't too synthetic smelling. It smells very natural to me. Very nice, soft, smooth smelling. Perfect for spring, that woodiness, that spiciness, that little bit of sweetness. It's gonna match the outside perfectly. Sherman Icon, if you get a chance to pick it up and you see it at Ross or TJ Maxx, immediately pick it up. It is so, so nice. So the next and the last one that I'll be talking about is one that I've already talked about before, but I've worn it a good bit recently, and I really, really, really like it. It is one that I've had a little journey about, thought about a good bit, and I can't believe the quality and how it smells and how it comes across. The fragrance I want to talk about is Quorum Silver. Going back to Quorum. So the Quorum line video is actually my most viewed video on my channel. It's almost at 1,000 views, which really surprised me. I didn't know so many people were looking up the Quorum line by Antonio Pucci and thought it was a great thing to look at. I really liked it. I thought it was very underrated fragrances. I didn't know so many people were interested in it. So thank you for that, by the way. Quorum Silver is my absolute favorite out of the line. I said that in that video, and to be honest with you, I didn't smell or wear the fragrances a whole lot. I was going based off of first impressions. But with this one, I have actually worn this, and I really, really like it. So in case you haven't already seen my other video, I'm gonna talk about how I think this smells. This comes across very citrusy in the beginning, very sparkling, but it also comes off very woody in the beginning. Now, this also has a cedarwood smell, the same cedarwood kind of note like you have in that Sherman Icon fragrance. The only difference is this fragrance is a lot more aromatic than Sherman Icon. It has the same kind of cedarwood note, with maybe a hint of a difference in there. But this fragrance comes off a lot more fruity, more citrusy, a lot more bright, and a lot more aromatic. Also, this does not have tobacco or leather in it like what the other fragrances from the Quorum line have. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through the note breakdown again real quick. On the top notes, you have ginger, lavender, cardamom, bergamot, mandarin orange. On the middle notes, you have nutmeg, pink pepper, cinnamon. And on the base notes, you have Virginia cedar, Gaiac wood, amber, and patchouli. So again, you have those aromatics coming through, that spiciness. You have nutmeg, you have cinnamon, you have pink pepper, those spices that come through, and it's very noticeable. I think it's kind of what maybe adds a little bit of that sparkling, a little bit of that spiciness to it. And then you have the woody dry down, which isn't really much of a dry down because you can pick up those woods almost immediately. But when it does dry down, you're left with a lot of that sweet amber and all those woods and a little bit of that spiciness still. It's very pleasant. This is a classy, sophisticated man's fragrance. All of these really are in a way. All of these except for Mont Blanc Individuel and the honorable mention from Abercrombie & Fitch. I think is in springtime is where you can get a lot of those kind of fresh, herbal, aromatic, very classy, again, very mature fragrances to wear outside. Springtime is a time where you can experiment more with those florals and those aromatics and those spices in a way you can't do in summer and sometimes can't even do in fall. Spring, I think, adds a lot more uniqueness and maybe a little more experimentation to fragrances. The quality you get out of this and the uniqueness and the depth in it is just incredible. The price on this is about $15 online and maybe even in store. I got this on FragranceNet for about $15 each on every Quorum fragrance. So I mean, under 20 bucks for this. It is so nice. It's way high above the price. The quality is way above the $15 that you pay for it. And again, it's gonna be something very different from anything anyone else is wearing nowadays in the spring or the summer, and maybe even the fall as well. It's gonna be something that's gonna help you stand out because it is different. Quorum Silver. Citrusy, bright, cedarwood forward, very aromatic, spicy, nice woody, very fresh, bright, but also very classy, mature, and sophisticated. Highly recommend it. $15. Availability is everywhere online. You can find it on FragranceNet or Fragrance Buy. I'm pretty sure Fragrance Buy, but I know FragranceNet. And if you see this out at TJ Maxx or Ross, definitely pick it up. It's a very good quality buy. But again, guys, these are my 5 cheapies that I highly encourage you to try and wear for this spring. They are 5 that I'll be personally wearing a lot this spring going into summer. Very high quality, very available, very inexpensive. way higher quality again than the price. I hope you enjoyed this video. Something very different, but I really want to do this. I'm gonna try and do the same thing in summertime. I'm gonna bring in a line of my favorite summer cheapies and then do the same thing with fall and the same thing with winter. Trying out a lot of different stuff. And again, I'm in a new space and I'm gonna be changing a lot more things as my videos go on. So let me know the changes that you do like, the changes you appreciate, or the things you wish I could change back, or any additions you like, anything you think I can add into it, any advice. I would love to hear it. I want your input, guys. And I want to know things that can help make this channel better, help make me better, and help make things that you would enjoy watching yourself as well. If you buy any of these fragrances, or if you already own any of these, let me know what you think about it in the comments. Let me know how you wear them, situations you love wearing them in, other seasons or other things you love wearing along with it. I love to have your feedback, guys. I want you to send it in. I want you to comment. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Consider liking, consider commenting and sharing this. I really do appreciate all of you guys that already have subscribed and all of your input and all of your likes and all your views. I want to make things that you enjoy, and I got a lot of things coming up that I can't wait to show you. Again, guys, that's all I got for this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Be blessed.